So welcome to the Mastermind Referral Group. Like I said, we started this a little over a year ago to kind of help with some small business networking here in Arizona. It's quickly taken off and expanded across the country and even the world. I think we even had somebody from it was like, I can't remember what time it was, but do you remember, Paul? We had somebody join us from they were either in New Zealand or Australia or something like that, and it was like some ridiculous time of night or morning.
And of course, we have our across the pond to the east, the big pond to the east, Patrick Flynn.
Yeah.
Oh, Flynn.
Yeah, don't forget the O part. So, but yeah, this group has grown. It's over 150, 160 some odd people now, from all walks of life: doctors, lawyers, scientists. We've got our professor in the house. We've got PhDs and a lot of PharmDs because of my background in my industry, working with the pharmacy community. Of course, entrepreneurs and business leaders. And we meet each week to network and refer each other business. So that's been a fun time helping support each other's business and make introductions and referrals. Bob will not be with us today. He's having a medical procedure, and so we wish him the best and our thoughts and prayers with him. But he'll be here next week for sure. Bob is our gracious host with mycity.com. If you're not familiar with the mycity.com platform, it's just another great platform for you to be on and have your bio and your information about whatever your services are, and another Google searchable place for you. And that's how Bob and I met. Is I actually went on his podcast and then set up a profile on mycity.com. And we just hit it off, and so that's when we started this whole networking group here. But I've always kind of felt like I've had this superpower that I know a guy. Been in sales and marketing for a lot of years, and back in the day before even social media, that was a little Rolodex, that you'd flip through and get cards out of, and you gathered up everybody's business card, and that's kind of how I kept track of people. Well, now, because of LinkedIn and other social media platforms, that 50, 60, 100, 200 people has turned into thousands of people. And so wanted to be able to share the wealth. And so we started this group, and I've kind of always lived by the principle that I learned back in my early sales days, listening to sales training tapes, cassette tapes, if anyone remembers what those were. But the late, great Zig Ziglar, loved listening to him because he was like so energetic. It was like listening to a Baptist preacher tell you sales principles, which was really cool. I had that good Southern accent. And one of my favorite stories was the shoe shine guy. Does anyone familiar with that story? You remember the shoe shine guy did such a wonderful job, and he was just selling it, flipping that towel, popping it so that it was grabbing everyone's attention. And after he does this amazing job getting his shoes completely shiny, then he says, I bet you have another pair in your bag right there that need to be shined up too. So he was always upselling, and he learned that principle from a shoe shine. And so, that one of the teachings that's really stuck with me, though, from Zig Ziglar is if you're willing that you'll get enough, everything you want out of life if you help enough other people get what they want and what they're looking for. And so it's that pay it forward kind of principle. And more recently, even Tony Robbins, talks about the secret to living is giving. So that's why we come together, is to give of our knowledge and our connections and our relationships. And the more we get to know each other and we build that trust, and we know, like, and trust people, then it's easier for us to give referrals that way. So
could I add to that, Frank?
Sure, absolutely.
Well, what I do is I share information with people and I ask them, are they interested? And then what's the best number to get you on, right? So you can send them some information. Now, I was doing it all wrong initially because I was giving them my card. But when I get their number, I have kind of control. They may be distracted or too busy or whatever, but I can use their number to kind of get some kind of process going, you know. So if you get their number, it is far more powerful so that you can share the information and see where they are. Maybe the timing is wrong for them, but at least you know you're not waiting for a call.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the tools that we use in introductions, of course, Bob has his referral widget that helps match you with certain people on LinkedIn. I also use LinkedIn pretty heavily, and I'm happy to make introductions. I usually do it through the chat portion of LinkedIn to try to connect people, and then if there's no response there, then you go to email, and then still no response, and then go to the phone. Like you had mentioned there, Patrick. So yeah, always great when we have the phone contact information, because a quick text today is pretty easy to respond to as well. So we each week we usually have one presenter that comes and presents to the group. Today we've got Richard, who's going to be presenting to us. Amazing programs that he and his partners run to help businesses keep more of your hard-earned money. Not give it all away to the federal government. And so there's some really good programs that they work with, and so wanted to share that with you today. And then next week, October 19th, Armand, you're still up for next week presenting to the group? Yeah, you're on mute, but I'm hoping that's a head nod. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. I forgot I was on, but yeah.
Okay, excellent. So next week, learn from this amazing programs that a lot of us here have, and so we want to share the wealth. And so looking forward to Richard's information, and then next week Armand, and then the October the 26th is still open. Whoever would like to present there. If we don't have a presenter, we'll do another posting party on that week, because we haven't done one, or we don't have one scheduled for October yet. We always like to fit those in every once in a while. If you've never participated in a LinkedIn posting party, a lot of fun. If you're used to getting a couple hundred impressions, you'll get a couple thousand impressions when you do it in a posting party. We can talk more about that. So, all right, don't want to take any more time unless there's any other things that need to be hurried and spoken about right now. I'd like to turn the time over to Richard to present to us, and then we'll go around and do some more introductions after Richard's presentation.
All right, thank you very much, guys. I appreciate the time, and we'll go on this. I'm gonna do a PowerPoint. I'm not usually a PowerPoint guy, but I'm gonna do a PowerPoint for about 10 or 15 minutes for those of us that are visual learners. It might be something that is of value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through this. Some of you that have been on these meetings know us, know my company. We're Incentive Advisors. What we do is we focus on small to mid-sized businesses, and we focus on working with the tax programs that will bring cash back into the business, one way or the other. Done a lot of work in the R&D area. Did new work with ERC, that's on hold at this point. We've done a lot of work in. I presented a couple of months ago now. Program that we have, a Section 125 program for employers that allows them to have a guaranteed profit, a very nice program, a health program for their employees, and their employees have an increase in pay. But what I'm going to talk about today is our strategic tax analysis program. And I'm going to go ahead and share a screen right now, make sure we can all hear it. So what we are, strategic tax analysis is focused on the business owners. This is the shareholders of businesses. And I'll talk about the issue. And bottom line is, and I was shocked at this when I really got into it. I've been in business and around finance and taxes for a long time, and I did not realize the extent that that we could help on this area. So we now have the relationship where we're rolling this out through a law firm, and I'll talking about specifically on that is. But basically, what we're talking about is, are you overpaying your taxes? So here's the issue. Here's the problem: is that most of you are on here are probably in some type of a pass-through entity, sub S corporation, LLC, sole proprietorship, partnership. And what happens with any of those type of entities is that the as pass-through entities, if you're successful, then you're getting a W-2 income and you're getting a pass-through with the profitability. All of that rolls up to you on and your personal 1040. And as we well know, the personal individual tax rate is the highest of any of the business entities. In some states, California, Illinois, Massachusetts, the tax rates are 50% and above. So what happens is, because when an owner is in a pass-through entity, they're not able to take advantage of the statutory tax breaks that could be available if they're properly structured and we were able to implement the right strategies. So why are most companies missing out? So we go into it. Everybody starts with a company, and you're gonna make your widget. You're gonna do your service, whatever it's gonna do, and you go to your accountant and say, "Hey George, what should I be?" And he said, "Oh, I think you should be a single person LLC and elect sub S accounting because that's to your advantage." Or if you've got a whatever you did, let's start out with a sub S corporation. So and each of these kinds of entities, whether you're a pass-through entity or you're a C corporation, they all have differing advantages and disadvantages. C corps, because they are the largest entities, typically public entities are typically C corps. They have a lot of money and a lot of clout, and they have created a process where there's a lot of advantages to have that entity. What we do when we start out our companies, and we're in a sub S corporation, which is the best entity for us in all probabilities for our activities, is we have the advantages of that S corporation or that LLC or whatever we're doing, but we don't have the advantages that are on the C corporation. And we as small or mid-sized employers don't get the opportunity to do that because we're so busy working and building our widget or doing our service, is that we don't focus on other aspects of it. This is not a knock on our CPAs or our corporate attorneys are there, is you can't do everything. You can't be an expert in everything. So typically a tax preparer in a smaller entity, they're focused on compliance and making sure you're doing your payroll and making sure you've got your schedules and all that stuff done. And if you're an attorney on that, typically, again, they're focused on contract law, business transaction law, and they're not focused on the overall maximizing of your business and personal taxes. There's all kinds of different tax breaks that are out there. One of the easiest ones we think about is the medical insurance deduction. Though, everybody has insurance of some sort. And if you're in a sub S corporation LLC and you're a shareholder that has 2% or more, you can't deduct it. You're not able to pay that with pre-taxed incomes. There's all kinds of Section 125 benefits. Cost segregation is different, but you've got areas like family employees, tax-free rentals, allowances, all these different kinds of things that are available if you are structured properly. And when we when we have our sub S corporation and we simply live with that all the time, you've got the protection advantages, but you don't have the tax advantages. So what's the answer to do that? Well, what we've done is we are now the representatives for a law firm, Tax Law Associates, on a national basis. And our job is to help businesses identify whether they might qualify for specialized tax reducing strategies. So TLA, they're a specialty tax consulting firm. They've been around since 2002, national practice, but when I say national practice, it is a consulting practice. They are not licensed in every state, but through their years, they have over 3,800 clients that they have helped, all 50 states. The managing partner is Mike Fusel. He is an attorney. He is a master's of law in taxation. He is on the tax review on the tax bar review board nationally, and he is a CPA. I tease him about being an underachiever. So, but he's been doing this. He's been doing this for 27 years and never been audited. He knows what he's doing, but because he focuses specifically on these tax strategies for companies. So what you should, when this was our situation, the headline for what we do is typically for employers, for shareholders, we're able to reduce their taxes by 20 to 40%. So when I see that it's the shareholders that I do on a normal basis, and they are paying 60, 80, $100,000 or more in a year, and this is both W-2 taxes and on the taxes you pay for your profitability on this thing, is that they're not taking advantages of when we're able to implement and help them implement on this. We're able to save them between 20 and 40%. I'll give you a very small small example. Company I work with out of Boston. They hurt badly during the pandemic. They have a great trolley service on that. But last year they did not even quite $1 million, 950 grand, something like that. But they paid over $100,000 in taxes. By working with us on this, we were able to reduce their taxes this year by 48 grand. So almost 50% of their taxes were able to reduce them. And these, by the way, when we structure it, these reductions are not a one-time. For example, when you look at R&D, for example, that is for that specific year, specific company, whatever that work, and that's a credit you're going to get for that 1 year. When we do this for a shareholder, this is for the rest of their business lives, literally on into their kids take it over, or they end up selling it if they do a stock transfer. Then they're able to do this. This goes year after year after year. So what's involved in it, we're looking at is 20 to 40% reduction in their taxes, and that is typically involving entity restructuring. Because what we do is we work with the company and we help them restructure. The attorneys do this, obviously. We help them restructure so that they are able to take advantage of the C corporation advantages, which allow them that, as well as having the S corporation advantages that they need for their operating entity. So he's totally involved in the entity structuring, corporate structuring on that. But this also leads over into retirement planning, into succession planning, with what they're doing, installment sales, gifting, buy-sell agreement planning, estate planning, educational planning, tax-free college funding. All of these things can be accomplished with the proper structuring on the program. Here's a big point. I've already talked with a number of people that are within this group, because they heard me chat about this in the past. The big deal, one of the big deals here, is that we want to participate with others. We're not going to replace anyone. We're not replacing the financial advisor or the estate attorney or the accountant or the CPA or the investor or any of those areas on that. We want to partner with those people. All we focus on in this area is the legal and the structural process to make this possible. When you do a buy-sell agreement, when you need a buy-sell agreement, for example, the law group is if you're going to fund that with insurance, law group is not licensed to do that. We want them to work with their trusted partners. We don't replace CPAs. We want the CPA to work with us because we can make things faster and easier and better for the client. So we're agnostic in that area. We want to encourage what it is that you bring to that client. We want to make the dollars available for them to be able to purchase whatever it is that you're working with. This is our job. We do the same thing with R&D. We do the same thing with 125. Is that we help put money back into the company pockets, and we partner with those people who are out there working with the businesses in order so they can bring other products and programs that are valuable to the client. So we're not going to replace anyone there. We're not going to work in the gray area. Everything that is done here is statutory in nature, is black and white. It's by the book. As I said, Mike is involved at very high levels of taxation. He's had a portion of his company that's been in tax defense work. He's pretty much moving everything over here on this one. But he knows what it's about, and he doesn't get audited because he doesn't work in the gray areas. They're also not a retainer service. This is not something that an employer buys every year. What they're going to do, we're going to create the process for them. We're going to help them with what they're doing. They're recurring, and they pay a fee, and it is a fixed fee based off of the first year savings, based upon a percentage of the first year savings. those reoccurring savings, because this will happen year after year after year on this thing, those belong to the client themselves. So the ROI over a 5-year period is huge on that. Process is really quite simple. What we do is we work with one of our advisors from the company, or you, if you're working in this area and want to become part of offering this kind of a program to your clients. Basically, what you're doing on that is introducing the program, gets introduced so they understand it. Basically, using this kind of same discussion on that. There's a few questions that they've got. It's a 20-question thing, but these are not in-depth questions. If you've ever done or been involved with research and development tax credits, you know that stuff involves a lot of detail. This does not. This is much more generalized because the attorney CPAs are able to get a lot of that information from the financial information from the documents on that. So you've got a few questions that's done. Honestly, no more than 10 or 15 minutes on those questions. But then we directly uploaded to the attorneys general financial information, financial statements, 3-year corporate and personal taxes, the current financial statements. The TLA then will analyze that information at a high level, because obviously the client hasn't accepted going forward. So they'll analyze the information, and then we have a preliminary estimate program where we meet by Zoom using tax savings report that's created. It takes about 7 days to do that. We're going to have a Zoom meeting to review those preliminary findings, including an estimate of what the annual tax savings will be. Mike gives them these are the minimum tax savings that we see based upon an initial look at this. If the client at that point wants to go forward, they then sign the engagement agreement. There is a 50% deposit that's required up front. Within 4 to 6, then they go back to work on it. Within 4 to 6 weeks, all of that is done. There is a big document that's created, with all of these different areas that are structured. And Mike, part of the process is he wants to meet personally with everybody. So he literally flies out to wherever it is, sits down with them at least a half day. By the way, you can bring in to the at any of the meetings, any of the advisors. I'm always involved with the meeting. If it's a client that I brought in, you are very welcome to do that and be part of the program. And the deliverables becomes very personal. That's going to be obviously up to the client on that one. But Mike is there to work with and help the client understand what's happening and be able to implement those programs. So you implement it on that TLA. If they're an entity structure, they need to create a C corporation or create the S corporation because they're already in a C. They provide all of the corporate books and formalities. They do all that stuff, and then the client sets up the recommended advantages to be implemented through their personal relationships that they've already got, financial advisors, attorneys, and CPAs, etc. All these different things. And then their programs are implemented over the next few months, and the savings begin at that point. This late, and I'll just say one more thing on it, and then I'll go to questions. This late in the year, we can actually still impact 2020. We can actually impact 2023 this year. As you know, if you're doing anytime you're doing your taxes, as long as it's done within this year, we can then go backwards and have some savings. There are some programs like your 125 plans, like your buy-sell, not your buy-sell, sorry, 125 plans or your medical type of programs where your savings are on a monthly basis. So if you only got a month or two left in 2023, then you can have a little bit of savings, but your big savings will come in over the next year. So there's still some things we can do this year and things that will take place over the next year. And that's it. Really, for continuing support, he's there. If you've got tax advice on anything, entity guidance, if you're buying or selling something from a tax standpoint, he'll be glad to be part of on that, and that's all part of being a client with TLA. And then this is for obviously a client-facing presentation with what's next to get started. Complete the questionnaires and upload the documents is what's needed from the employer. Okay, that's my overview. For, like as I said, those of us who are visual learners, I put that in there. I'll jump back to it if I need to, but I'll come back to the a little bit of a bigger squares that we got here. What kind of questions did I generate, ladies and gentlemen?
Richard, I know nothing about tax in America. But you came across so well there that I feel I could trust you, right? And no, what I mean by
Thank you,
that
Patrick.
is, what I mean by that is, what I liked about what you said is that you go in and you meet people and you're non-threatening to the finance people, and that makes them feel part of the process. I think that's
Appreciate that.
really, really good. And the other thing then I picked up, maybe you could correct me here, is that you do an evaluation before you charge for it, or
Absolutely.
they may not want it. Is that correct?
Absolutely. You know, we'll do a evaluation on what it is and get it and get an estimate. Obviously, you can't know exactly what it is until you get it in. But you do an estimate. They'll decide whether or not they want to move forward.
I think that's wonderful, and where possible, I will recommend you.
I appreciate that. Actually, Patrick, over in your on your side of the pond, there are also these kinds of programs that exist over there. R&D, research development, is a big deal in England and Australia and in Canada. We don't do that. We focus only on the United States. But there are programs similar to this type of thing.
Well done. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you. Yes, Paul.
Richard, thank you very much. You know, I heard you say that somebody had to pay $100,000 in taxes, and I'm thinking, I wish that was me, because that means I made $101,000 that I needed to pay that taxes on. But you know, tax laws. My tax attorney is my attorney. That's his specialty. Tax laws seem to change almost on a weekly,
constantly.
monthly, definitely yearly basis. How does all of this, how do you keep track of all this? Because we all make certain moves, and then next month or next year they say, oh, well, that's no longer deductible, or you can't take that much out, or that. How do you keep on top of all of that, and how does all of that affect any game plans that you create?
That's good. Thank you for talking about that. I did talk about the $100,000 in taxes. This is obviously available to anybody at any level of taxation. However, what we usually say is that just simply in order to make it worthwhile, because obviously there's a bunch of work involved in doing it, is we say if your client, if you are paying $30,000 to $40,000 in taxes, then it makes really good sense for you to do this. So, you know, if you're paying paying 5 or 10 or 15,000 in taxes as a business, you're probably in a growth pattern. You know, I want to talk to you next year, you know, the year after, because you're growing and we want to be there. We can actually provide programs that don't include this. For example, if you got 10 employees or more, the Section 125 program we talk about is a great program that provides benefits for the employees and a profit to the employer and additional income to the employee. And even if the company could be losing money at that point. So there are things that we can do now, things that you do future when the timing is right. But I want to emphasize 30 to 40,000 is where you're looking at it to make it valuable for the client, because they're going to pay a fee, and you don't want to, they can't do it if you're making 10 grand. You can get help, but they can't do the work for that. Right.
And after you've identified, I'm sorry, after you identified that amount, how many times do people say, oh no, never mind, I don't want the service? I mean,
you know,
seems
what?
Like a no-brainer.
The issue, it is a no-brainer as long as they believe what you're saying, which is always all of us run into that. We know what we're doing, but yeah, you have that. You've got situations where somebody's uncle is is a financial planner, and they say, I'll take care of it, or they're or they just really feel like they can't, because there is money up front. You got to understand that. They say, I just don't want to do that. And but usually that's normally a situation where you say, you know what, they probably just don't believe it yet, or something like that. Does that make sense? Preston, you were looking to ask a question?
Yeah, thank you. So I know you mentioned that there's still technically time on the calendar left to impact 2023, but like in an ideal world, when would be the best time of year to implement something like this?
January 1. I mean,
okay.
You can start at any given point. obviously. And when's the best time to start? Is now, right? Because
Of course.
you can't go backwards. But but there, as I said before, there are some of the strategies you can look backwards at and simply apply for the entire past year, because you're doing the taxes for your past year. Others accrue for savings on a monthly basis. So you take advantage of those at that point. I do want to emphasize there are another pieces I want to talk about this. We definitely cooperate. We referral partners on this one. There is if this is something you want to bring to your clients or to somebody else, we are definitely want to work with you. There's money. There are commissions available for you on this because they pay a fee. My company obviously makes a fee. I want to work through other professional advisors. So we'll bring those programs. We'll have it if it makes sense for you based on what you're doing. One of the cool parts about this is that the attorney, because I don't know, let's say someone is working in the financial planner area, the attorney is going to recommend the strategies. You're going to implement them. So this is not something that takes anything away from people. What this does is it helps and creates a validity because they're going to say, hey, you need a buy-sell agreement. You really need to fund this. Based upon the numbers that we're looking at here, we're talking about $225,000 each for 3 different partners. They're not going to do that. That's you if that's what you do, or another trusted partner that the client has. Does that make sense? So we don't want to. Matter of fact, we want to make partners of a lot of people because there are so many million businesses, honestly, that can profit from this for themselves. I want to spread the wealth literally, and work with those professionals that want to bring this and represent this program to their clients. Richard,
a basic question, why is tax so complicated?
77,000 pages of IRS code.
I mean, these guys must have several MBAs to put all that together.
Patrick, it's called lawyers.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Take a look at Congress and see how many lawyers are there.
What I heard is the more complex the law, the more difficult it is to tell somebody's compliance. So I think that's probably part of it.
No doubt. As someone said, it constantly changed as well. Moshe.
I was going to say the other part of that is the fact that whenever we change the tax code, they never eliminate what's already been there. They just continue to add on.
Yeah. Add. And they don't tell you what to do. They don't tell you what it is they want. I mean, there have been fundamental changes, for example, in the code relative to research and development tax credits for 2022 and on that one. But they don't tell you what it is that they want to see. They tell you what they tell you the overall, this is the structure, okay? And then you submit and they say, oh, no, that doesn't work. You say, well, what do you want? I said, I don't know, send me something back and I'll tell you whether or not that works. Yeah. And it drives you absolutely nuts. But that is the way. That's the way of it. That's why we're having. And there's a big difference. Most of us in our small mid-sized businesses, we do a lot of relying on our CPAs for anything. Your taxes? Talk to my CPA. Okay. Well, have you tried to talk to your CPA between January 1 and April 15th recently? I mean, how many things can you be? Okay, you can't be all things to all people, and that's why we work with a lot of CPAs across the country, because they can't and don't want to, because they can't take the time away from it to do those specific things that require that kind of deep dive into these specific aspects. And they're very worthwhile. When you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars a year for a small business, you can have one person who can qualify for this and make a lot of difference in their life.
Damar, did you have a question? Your hand was up earlier.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Richard, thank you very much for this presentation today. And I really enjoyed the time that we spent last week going over. So you kind of filled in some of the details. One of the things that I had a question about that we talked a little bit about was let's say a company has several businesses, and let's say, for example, let's just say, for the sake of numbers, let's say they have 10 businesses, and they have services like for billing. Let's just say it's a pharmacy in different parts of the country, and they want to do billing under maybe one entity. Is that
Mhm.
possible to do?
Sure. Yeah, I was just working last week with a client. It was auto repair, but he's got 6 different entities, six different corporations in that, because he's got several shops, and he owns, and he has some real estate that he's got in there. So that's part of the process, is taking a look at it and say, what can we do for that in this particular program? We're looking at what can you do for the shareholder. So you're going to want to look at how they hold those properties. What are they doing on? And the interesting thing, I've seen this a number of times now. It says, oh yeah, I've already got an S corporation and I've got a C corporation. Oh, okay. Where are your employees? Oh, they're on the S corporation. You just told me, and you as an employee of that, you having all of your payroll within that S corporation, you just told me that you as a shareholder can't take advantage of any of these things that we're talking about for tax shelters. You just can't. The law says that if you have an S corporation or pass-through entity, you can't do that. But it says you can if you are a C corporation. So in that, just taking that fundamental, you got 6 companies out here, but structuring it properly so that shareholder, that's the focus on this in this particular program, so that they can maximize their participation. So you can say, how do we do that? Where do we put it? If a company has, which is more and more rare these days, if they're already in a C corporation, okay, because they got set up 25 years ago, they're already in a C corporation, they don't have the shelter for that if everything's in the C. They want to have an S corporation for operations, but keep the C corporation for payroll, for doing all of those aspects, for having the advantages for the shareholders. So those, it goes both directions.
All right. Any more questions? We'll
Yeah,
set up a
I've
one-to-one.
one final question, Richard. I've a vision in my head that Donald Trump had a one-page tax for you could submit 1 page, and that was your tax submission.
Of course. Yeah, just as long
And
as he
what
has somebody
happened
else
to
sign
that?
for it.
There was no
That's a-
77,000 lines of code there.
Yeah, exactly.
Moshe.
So what happened to it?
Well, two things. Well, let me just quickly try to answer Patrick's question. One of the things they did was they raised the amount before you could take actual individual deductions. So because that more and more people could just file an easy form, that reduced the amount of paperwork. That's number one. The reason I was raised my hand was the fact that most people aren't aware of it. I'm sure Richard is. The 401k option. It was really someone who found a loophole in the tax returns, in the tax code, to see that people can open up a retirement account and deduct it under the term 401k. And that's where it came from. So I just like to throw that out there.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
if there are any more questions, because we're not going to have any time for introductions, please set up a one-on-one with Richard. He's really gracious with his time. I've opened up some rooms here. Please go into the room. 2 minutes each to do introductions. We'll see you back here in 8 minutes. And I'll jump in one of the rooms as well. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. It's time flies, right? You think, man, we've got plenty of time in here, and then the room closes. And
Yeah, we cut you off. Sorry about that, Brad.
no, you're fine. You're fine. So yeah, happy to do a one-on-one anytime with anyone here. In fact, I think that is my Calendly link in the. If not, just reach out to me on LinkedIn or email. If you're new to this group and you would like the weekly newsletter. It's just simply kind of let you know what the next week's presenter is going to be, or that day's presenters. In this case, I got it out late, but please add your email. You can even send it to me direct message in the chat. Just get me your email. I'm happy to add you to that. We don't spam you. We just once a week, you get a little updated newsletter of what the upcoming week. I should start scheduling out what the upcoming next few weeks are. So, and I might have misspoke earlier, Armand. I thought that you had volunteered to present next week, and it might have actually been because I have so many conversations. It might have actually been Colin. But if you are still willing to present next week, well, Colin's agreed to do November 2nd.
Well, I'm okay. I mean, if Colin wants to go next week, that's fine. I can go later. I mean, I was like, okay, I'm just trying to, I couldn't remember though, when we had the conversation. So, how it is, you got some stuff going on, but I'm flexible either way.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's just keep you for next week on the 19th. 26th will be our posting party, unless we have to move somebody around. And then Colin has an amazing new email strategy that you guys need to do a one-on-one with. He'll present it to the group here in a couple of weeks, but I'm definitely going to use his strategy on a couple of campaigns that I have coming up. So looking forward to getting more information on that as well. So appreciate everyone being here today. I know we didn't get to meet everyone. We usually try to do 2 or 3 of these breakout rooms, but
I talked too long.
No, the conversation was worth it. We needed to hear that. There's some really good that came from that, and so hopefully more people will do one-on-ones with you, because we didn't get all the questions answered for sure. So
yeah, love to do it. You've got I threw my Calendly into the chat, so you got that as well. It's easy. It's richard@ascentadvisors.com. Email me. We'll figure out a time. If there's something I can do, either from in whatever area, I'd love to chat about it, find out what you're doing, and see if there's something that we could potentially do together.
Yeah, and I realized that my Calendly didn't go in the chat, so I'll add that really quick. But it's super easy to find me as well, because I think I'm probably the only Breck Rice in the out there on social media anyway, so it's pretty easy to just use my name.
And then we can only handle one of you, Breck. There can only be one.
Well, according to Sky, I can have my avatar go to these meetings. You never know.
You're the only Breck on the planet.
I think so too.
Rice on the planet. I mean, you're a standout guy. You know what I mean?
Well, appreciate everyone. Great group. We had good discussions today, and look forward to seeing you next week. We do it this same time every Thursday at this same time. Invite a friend. Would love to see this group grow, because obviously the more people we have come here, the more people we have to network with and do business with. So, all right, everyone, have a great rest of your day. Great.
Are you going to be sending out the list of everybody that's on this as well, like you usually do? Perfect.
Yeah, we'll have that. Marie is on the mycity.com window. There is Marie. She is great about getting this content back out, and the recording from this too. Moshe, you had a question? You're on mute. No. Okay. All right.
I was just trying to get all the chat, all the new information that came in on the chat. I just wanted time to be able to do a
yeah, like I say, we'll save it and send it out to everybody. Obviously we need your email in order to send it to you. So make sure you add your email into the chat, and then we'll send you a recap of everybody's contact information, and also a recording of this, so you can go back and rewatch the presentation that Richard gave. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate you presenting today.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next Thursday.
You know what? If you're interested, Breck, just throwing this out on this one, I have a Vimeo account. If you want, there's a lot that we might want to trim from this. If you want to send me the link for the Zoom link, my assistant she does a lot of that. So we're happy to take that, trim it down to, just trim it down to a piece of it that gets rid of a lot of the first chatter and the last chatter.
Yeah, of course.
Quick question to you, Brooke. Do I need to send an email to you to try to get last week's because I wasn't able to make it due to a conflict?
Yeah, if you'll send me a reminder, then I
All right,
can
I'll put that in
send
an
out
email.
last week.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yep, appreciate it. All right, thanks everyone. Take care.
Take care. Thank you for the time. Take care.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.